Good. You can see I am in my pantry today.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about pantry organization with Tidy Katie today.
Right.
Especially because we're sitting at home and, you might want to get your kids involved in some organizing at home. And we have another video about organizing a kid's closet. But with the pantry, in our pantry, you're only seeing one side. The other side has the deep freeze and the bread area and all that stuff. But if you were to start with the pantry, I know that everyone's pantry looks different. Some people have walk-through pantries, some people have wire racking. We are using a makeshift pantry right now. Show you the whole thing. It is the craft organizing space, which Katie might recognize because she helped me pack our old house. And then this is the other side with, again, all those are repurposed, not that one. That one we love because that's our kind of coffee bar area. But these cabinets at the top there were actually used for my craft space. And I'm glad we didn't actually get rid of them because they come in handy since we don't have money to be building out a pantry, but it does its job.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're organizing a pantry, obviously one could just take everything out and dump it in the kitchen. And even when we were moving in and unpacking stuff, I'm like, where do I start? So what do you recommend to start in the pantry?
So I know I keep saying this, but just, if you're overthinking it, just start somewhere. I would recommend starting with, if you have things already in there. So if you've already moved them in and they're all in, and you're like, I need to reorganize.
Kind of like areas where this is like kind of baking and kind of cooking and then cereal and stuff.
Yeah. So if you do have those categories sort of etched out, I mean, they may not be perfect, or that might be why you want to actually organize. But if you've kind of got those, then I would go by those categories. So I would take like baking supplies out and put them on your counter. And then with every sort of section, I would just start by making sure none of the food is expired. So like an easy sort of skim through of like, has this been sealed properly, making sure it's not expired, that sort of thing.
Now, here's a good example of an annoyance to me. Because see this section here?
Yeah.
Like containers on top of each other, there's stuff in here, but it's like, to me, that's not organized. And now there's like, some of it has to do with the fact that these are boxes and you can't really, there's not a shelf here to put it on. But what do you recommend when it comes to something like that, where you kind of end up stacking things on top of each other?
So I appreciate, I think what you're doing great is that you're using the vertical space, right? Because obviously just having one thing on the bottom won't use those deep, or I guess tall squares.
Let's look at all the ceilings are here. We're not utilizing that. Not yet.
So for that, what I would do is I would either stick with my bins and get lids for them, and then label those
lids. Like they're the IKEA. See how they're like these weird with the handle?
Right. Those little things. Yeah. So I think then I would, you know what, actually, if they have a handle, I didn't see those before. That's great. And do they stack on each other on purpose?
I'm in a pantry that has a light sensor. So it's like, can you see the handle?
Yes. Okay.
That's from IKEA. I don't know from how many years ago, but that's stack on top of each other when they're empty.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess the idea then is making sure that the amount of things in them still allows you to stack. Why I keep talking about stacking or lids is so that you can pull one out really easily without the bottom one or the top one.
You have to do both, otherwise it'll all kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like if you want to try to repurpose the ones you already have, because you've already got them in there, to just limit what's in them so that they can kind of stack. And I'd even label them as well, so you can almost kind of pull them out, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then in the ideal world, I'd love to have enough of these for all our cereal. We don't, because these are expensive. They're awesome. But we end up having things like this being left behind and people forgetting that there's Cheerios behind here.
Yes. Yes.
Any tips about that? Because I mean, obviously everyone has different spaces in terms of how they put their cereal and how they organize it, but what would you recommend there?
Yeah, that's a great one. Actually, I love that one because we all have that weird shaped bag of cereal that's only a little bit and it gets lost at the back of the pantry. I would even because you have a couple little bits of those, even if you had a little container that you could
Right.
just put at the front, because cereal boxes are nice because they don't get lost. Like big cereal boxes are
Yeah, I
pretty.
just don't like them because they take up too much space. So I
Yeah.
pull them out of the box so we can fit more in there, but then you end up having this.
So then I would probably put them in a bin then so that it's
Yeah,
like here are our
cereal
bags,
stuff.
cereal bags, and then on the other side your canister that you already have.
Well, and one of those containers used to actually have the cereal stuff in them, but we've been like in transition, right? Like you
Of
make
course.
something work just so that you have it to work, but in the ideal world, like there's just so much wasted space when you could build things. But I figured, hey, let's chat about like just easy hacks because right now we have the time maybe to organize, but we don't necessarily have the money to go out and buy all the baskets and things that we would love to buy.
Totally. And you know what? That's not even usually the best thing to start with anyways, because in decluttering and going through, you start to realize that you actually don't need extra space and often you just need a different system.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a good place to start.
Cool. Okay. So thank you for those pantry tips. And if
Mhm.
people want to share their pantry tips or their trouble spots in the pantry, make sure you comment below because Katie's going to be watching and she'll be chiming in and giving her thoughts. And of course, you can talk to her about getting her help and having her walk through your pantry specifically. And yeah, so thanks so much for watching, everyone, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so
Bye.
much for having me.